Whenever you search for information on what to do after you received a demand letter or after you've had a complaint filed against you in court, you inevitably read that you need to consult with an attorney or you need to hire an attorney. So in this video, I have a document and I have bullet points on some of the reasons why it's so important to have legal counsel for these matters. And of course, with this video, this is in light of ADA website compliance, but it also applies generally. But in this video, I will tailor some of these bullet points to website accessibility litigation. So one thing I want you to do is rather than look at trying to avoid the cost of an attorney, think of hiring an experienced defense attorney in this space as insurance against downside risk, because there is tremendous downside risk that looms. And so if you hire an attorney, yes, you're going to spend likely a few $1,000s, but think of that few $1,000s as insurance. And so you commonly hear that this litigation is all of the same. And yes, there is a lot of repetition, but what you also have to remember is that your circumstance is specific to you. So it is unique, at least in a few regards, possibly in more. And so think about the different dynamics in play. What size of organization are you? What state are you in? What is the plaintiff's law firm that has um, initiated litigation against you? What exactly are they claiming, right? These are all different dynamics that are specific to you. So while we commonly lump litigation together and there is a lot of repetition, you have to remember that your circumstance is unique. So you need counsel on your specific circumstance. And remember that the outcomes do vary. They vary across the board, even though we have similar fact patterns. Also, an attorney can help inform you of your legal options for your situation. So remember that your situation is custom to you, and so you are going to have different legal options. So you need to be aware of those. And so knowing the different paths you can take, knowing the likely outcomes that are assigned to those paths, that is important, and that's something an attorney can help you with. An attorney can also help you with strategy. There are nuances to negotiations. There are nuances to litigation, and taking different actions it's going will likely result in different outcomes. Maybe not, it may not be a completely different outcome, but different nuances can help slant things in your favor, and you need to be aware of those if they're available. And an attorney can help you with strategy. An attorney can also make sure that your rights are protected, and this can help prevent against future litigation. It's important to know that when litigation has been initiated against you, you need to be concerned with more than just the present time. You also need to be aware that there is the potential for future litigation. So being aware of that, an attorney can make sure that your rights are protected both now and in the future to the greatest extent possible. Right? Attorneys can't do everything. They can't if you do something that would violate someone's rights, the attorney can't prevent litigation then. But what an attorney can do is make sure your rights are protected to the greatest extent possible. An attorney may also be aware of defenses that you aren't, and there could be a motion to dismiss in the cards. You might not know that unless you hire an attorney and you talk to them and you consult with them and they look over the specifics of your case, and they could find something where they could find that the plaintiff does not have standing to sue, and they may think that a motion to dismiss may be the right course of action. So you have to remember that an attorney is going to be aware of considerations and things that you don't. And that's my next bullet point. So there could be a situation where a consent decree is called for, and if you aren't aware of what a consent decree is or what it does, then this is another example of where an attorney can help with your situation. And so this is something to ask your attorney about. Is this right for you? And there it may or may not be, and that goes back to strategy. So there could be strategy involved in deciding what action to take. So again, there are so many things in play, and that an attorney is seamlessly taken care of in the background, that make the having the attorney worth it to you. Also, an attorney may be experienced in negotiating with the plaintiff's law firm that has initiated litigation. And in fact, an attorney may have a relationship with that plaintiff's law firm. And you might think, well, they're the adversary. That's a bad thing. No, that's a good thing. That's very helpful. If an attorney can get the plaintiff's lawyer on the phone and talk with them, that's a good thing, because that level of familiarity is going to help them in negotiating. It usually, when the two sides are completely opposed and there is terse communication back and forth, that doesn't bode well for negotiation. So if an attorney is experienced in negotiating with the plaintiff's law firm, as much as you may dislike that plaintiff's law firm, that is a good thing, and that can help with the settlement. And that alone, if a settlement is applicable, but that alone can be worth the cost of hiring the attorney. And that's my next bullet point. An attorney can save you time, hassle, and money. So let's say the attorney is able to definitely lower the settlement amount to they lower it $3,000. Well, if they've saved you $3,000 in their negotiations, then that might even offset completely the expense, their fee to retain them. So an attorney is also going to handle all of your paperwork, and they're going to provide you a sense of relief, because when you go into the legal realm pro se, which means on your own, then you constantly have to wonder about the things you don't know, and you know there are things you don't know. But an attorney who is experienced in this space, who's got a sound record, they're going to know all of these different background things in play, and they're going to seamlessly guide you through them, and or be aware of make you aware of any times in which you need to make a decision, and they will keep you aware of the different legal implications in play. So an attorney is very, very helpful. And then the last bullet point I have is an attorney can advise you on preventing future litigation. So making sure that whatever brought about this initial litigation, whether you were technically or practically right, or whether you were wrong, making sure that you correct course and you do not find yourself in this situation again. So there's a lot of value, and a lot of times people jump to the conclusion that the attorney may not be needed, or this is something that they can do on their own. And I highly recommend against that, even though it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible for someone to defend themselves, but it's something where it's highly recommended that you always at least consult with an attorney. And it's not that expensive to consult with an attorney. In fact, there are many services online where you can talk one-on-one with a lawyer and get legal advice for your situation, and it will be billed at an hourly rate or whatever it is. But the fees are quite reasonable. But also, if you reach out to different attorneys and you ask for a consultation, it may only be a nominal fee, and then the expense of retaining that attorney may not be as expensive as you think. And so, what a good approach to hiring attorneys is to reach out to at least three or four, and then find out their rates, get a sense for whether you have a good rapport with this attorney, whether you think they will do a good job. Read their Google reviews, and then if you do that, you will have a better understanding of that attorney, and then get a sense for how how well you think they can handle this matter, and then move forward with one attorney, and that way you have someone that's there acting as your insurance against the downside. Now, of course, it is very important that you hire a good attorney. So you want someone, especially in when it comes to website accessibility litigation, you need to get somebody. I shouldn't say need. It is highly recommended that you have an attorney who has experience in dealing with plaintiffs law firms in this space, because there are so many advantages to that, because they are aware. And I will link to two of my interviews with Richard Hunt. Richard Hunt is an attorney who is experienced in this space, and he has dealt with plaintiffs law firms in this space, and he talks about why it's advantageous for attorneys who are experienced in this space, why experience is so advantageous in defending clients who are defending against litigation. So there's so much upside to hiring an attorney, in the sense that you are, I should say, it's you're protecting your downside when you hire an attorney. You're making sure to minimize your expenditures, and you're also making sure that you're protecting against your downside risk. And so an attorney is extremely important, and that's why you constantly see whenever you read an article or you watch a video, whether it's from an attorney or anyone else, they recommend to consult with an attorney for the reasons I have mentioned, and there are more too. There are more benefits to having an attorney on your side, and I think the negative experience and the stigma that comes with attorneys and the reluctance to hire them is there have been so many bad experiences. You just have to make sure that you're dealing with someone that you're comfortable with, that you feel that has a good reputation, and that is inexperienced in the matter which you are seeking help with. And that comes down to any form of business, right? Like if you want to, if you're going to a restaurant, right? If you go to the wrong restaurant, you're going to have a bad experience. And the same applies with attorneys. Like if you go to the wrong attorney, you're going to have a bad experience. If you go to a good attorney with ethics, who is actively protecting your rights and ensuring that they've done everything possible for your situation, you're going to have a good experience. So I highly recommend that if you are facing litigation, that you consult with an attorney, you talk with counsel, and have them defend you against any litigation.